This episode of the Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is your daily fantasy platform for player props. Now, Thrive Fantasy is offering our listeners an instant match on their first deposit of at least $20. Use promo code DTSN when signing up today. Start picking your props, racking up points, and winning cash prizes.
Aaron Donald creates the fumble. Goff goes crashing into the end zone.
It is intercepted by Jalen Ramsey.
Robert Wood, touchdown, LA!
Picked off by John Johnson.
Caught, touchdown, Tyler Higbee. It's Michael Brockers who gets there.
A'Shaun Robinson.
Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air.
Taylor Rapp, who had one taken away, will take this into the end zone.
Henderson with a good run and a first down, still on his feet.
Safety in the arms of Leonard Floyd.
Up top, touchdown, Van Jefferson.
Terrell Lewis. Everett in stride. Wow!
Hit behind the line. Terrell Burgess, 26.
Gets by some Hopkins at the goal line and in for his second touchdown.
But Malcolm Brown into the end zone. Abu Khan with the strip sack.
Picked off by Troy Hill.
Akers with a stiff arm. Akers into the end zone. Cam Akers.
LA will play for the Lombardi.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Downtown Rams podcast. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here by Jake Ellenbogen, and if I sound bummed, it's because I am. We're just going to get right into it. Jake and I were just discussing the ending of this Rams versus Bills game, the heartbreaking loss that the Rams endured at the hands, honestly, of a bad call. But as I was telling Jake, and I'm going to say a little bit here, and then we're just going to have an open discussion about this. But Jake, as I was saying, we lost. The Rams, I think, deserved to win this football game, but we lost because of a bad call. It wasn't pass interference. It wasn't holding or whatever the official call was in the end zone. But I've kind of always had the philosophy that you shouldn't put yourself in a position to lose because of one play or one call. I've always said that. That's the same exact thing that I said in the NFC Championship game that the Rams won against the Saints, because Saints fans were the worst on Twitter and going off about how the Rams didn't deserve to win and all that. And I'm like, you know what? You shouldn't put yourself in a position to lose because of a call. And I stand by that. Although I think it's a really terrible way to lose a football game, and I'm really pissed off about it, and I'm bummed, and I really truly think that the Rams deserve to win that game because of how hard we fought back at the end, which we're going to break down. We'll go back in this episode and we're going to break down kind of the start to finish of that Rams versus Bills game. But Jake, what are kind of your overall thoughts about that call? Because you brought up a good point about how there were some other calls in the game, especially on Aaron Donald, that weren't called in favor of the Rams.
Well, I don't want to make this all about just the officiating, Alexis, but the thing that bothers me is that Rams fans have kind of bit the bullet now. They realize, okay, Aaron Donald gets held every single play, and we're going to stop complaining about it because, well, it just never gets called. So, fine. If you're not going to call it, even though it happens every single play and it does affect the game, fine, whatever. But at the very least, can you not just give away the game to the other team? Because I am sorry. I will say this right now. I don't care how homerish it sounds. Not only did the Rams deserve to win, the Rams dominated the second half so badly that it nullified everything the Bills did in the first half.
Yeah.
And the Rams dominated. Here's the thing. When you look, you go and you look at the stats, everyone will be like, well, if the Rams didn't go down 28-3, this game, okay, that's fine. But the Rams won in total yards, 478 to 375. They tied in turnovers. They had 28 to 23 first downs. They led in time of possession. I mean, the Rams outplayed the Bills when it's all said and done. That's why you play 4 quarters. Yeah. And, people, and I see this on the other side. I was just on Facebook Live, and one of my buddies from high school, who's a huge Cowboys fan, basically comes out and says it's the same thing as the offensive pass interference, except it's not, because here's the thing. We won't even talk about the call yet. I'm just going to go over everything right now. The offensive pass interference changed the momentum of that play. Jalen Ramsey's running stride for stride with Michael Gallup, and then he shoves him full extension of the arm allows him to create separation and catch the football. One, even if that's not called, Dallas is still down by 3. The time is the clock is ticking and they're in field goal range. There's no guarantee Zerline makes the field goal, 1, and 2, there's no guarantee that they score a touchdown. So that doesn't end the game. Another thing, people want to use the Saints, right? They want to use that as an example of, oh, well, the Rams deserve it because of the Saints in 2018. 1, get over it. 2, the Saints play, same thing applies. All the Saints are doing there, they're basically about to kick a field goal, and it's not even a guarantee, right? But here's the thing, okay? That pass interference call, there was a lot more football after that. A lot more. And the Saints had the opportunity to possess the football again.
Exactly.
With plenty of time on the clock, and they blew it. Drew Brees didn't have to throw that, pretty much the Hail Mary up in the air.
Right.
I mean, the Rams won that game. The Cowboys, there was still another play after that. The Rams pressured Dak Prescott, forced him to throw an interception, ball game. And then, there's another one that I was thinking of, but I totally lost it. But my point is that with the Rams and bad calls, if you want to say that the Cowboys, that wasn't a call or whatever, fine, that's on you. But you can't say that the Cowboys win the game if they don't make that call. 1. 2, the Saints, you can't say 100,000% that they win that game if they don't make that call. And there's still football to be played. This game was entirely given to the Bills on that call on 4th down. Gabriel Davis, the rookie wideout, he initiates contact with Darius Williams. Darius Williams has contact right back to Gabe Davis. And this is the issue. At worst, the penalty is offset. It's a legal contact and it's offensive pass interference. And the penalty's offset. It is not pass interference because Gabe Davis doesn't even try to make an attempt to actually receive the football. Therefore, he wasn't a receiver. He was blocking downfield, which then again, he was also blocking way too far downfield, and he's all over the guy. So there's contact on both sides. But here's the thing. It's offsetting. You can't throw that flag. 1. 2, this is the ball game. Because the Rams, if they stop them there, that 4th down becomes 1st down and 10 for the Rams, and the Bills aren't getting the football back. It's over. So they're nothing alike because the Bills get the ball placed at the 1-yard line with about 20 seconds to go, and they have 4 downs. It's nothing alike. The officiating literally gifted the game to the Bills. That is what happened.
Yeah, and I want to make we could talk all day about how this was the wrong call and how this cost the Rams the game. I think Rams fans will be talking about this probably for the rest of the week. And here's the thing, because getting into the game breakdown and what happened in this game, there was a lot of bad things. There was a lot of good things. I think that because we're on the topic of this right now, we should probably start off with the bad news and then work our way to the good news. Here's the thing, okay? And this is what's so frustrating is the second half, the Rams totally dominated, but the defense went back kind of to the same stuff that they were doing in the first half that was bad, that led to the call that ended up costing the game. I mean, and I don't remember the correct order of this, but there was a 3rd and 17, I believe, and a 3rd and 22 that the Rams allowed the Bills to make. You cannot do that. And that goes back into the point of don't put yourself in a position to lose by a call or a play or whatever it is, because you had the Bills at 3 and 22. There's not an excuse for that. There was no excuse for the Rams to allow Josh Allen to make a pass on 3rd and 22 that late in the game. Okay, so there's that. And then there's also just the general problem of Josh Allen escaping from multiple Rams at several different occasions. Now, there was times that our defense pressured him. Look at the Aaron Donald strip sack, Josh Allen having to throw the ball away multiple times. But there was also a lot of times that Josh Allen, one of the touchdowns that he threw, I think it was the second one to Stephon Diggs, 3 Rams touched him. while he was making that touchdown pass. Like, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. So we're going to get into all the good stuff that the Rams did, because I truly think that the Rams did a lot of good stuff in this game more than they did bad stuff. But we can't, when you analyze this game and you look at the loss, yes, it comes down to that call, but there's a lot of things that put the Rams in the position to have that call happen the way that it did. And that's on the Rams. That is completely on the Rams. You know, you mentioned earlier how people are saying, well, the Rams, you know, were down 28-3. Yeah, they were down 28-3. They worked their way out of it. But again, when you're down 28-3, you got to work, you know, triple time to get out of that deficit, which they did. But again, you know, they could have scored another touchdown to solidify their lead even more. So we didn't lose by that call. So Jake, what I want to talk about first is the Rams defense, and we'll get into the good and the bad. But I think we should start off with the line up front on this Rams defense, because like I said, they did a lot of good things this game. They did a lot of things bad this game. The run defense, in my opinion, was horrible the entire game, even when we were playing well. For whatever reason, I cannot figure out why the Rams cannot stop the run. And I've been saying since halfway through the season last year that we need to abolish this three front Rams defense that we have. It needs to be gone. I saw multiple people on Twitter talking about how we cannot afford to have three up front anymore. We don't have the talent up there anymore. That's just the hard truth. We have Aaron Donald, who's amazing and will always be amazing, but you know, you got Michael Brockers, who's regressing. I mean, he's good, but he's on the tail end of his career. And then you have Sebastian Joseph Day. A'Shawn Robinson is not going to be able to play until halfway through the season, but honestly, even if he's up there, I want the three front gone. So I just want to hear your thoughts on the Rams defense as a whole, but particularly the Rams up front, and kind of why we cannot seem to figure out how to stop the run.
Well, it's kind of once again where we kind of have a disagreement in that regard. While the Rams don't look like the best run defending team, I don't think that it is as bad as their pass rush. And their pass rush took on it went to another level when it needed to. I'll give them that. But there's just far too many inconsistencies with the edge defense. And, I just think that that's really the biggest issue here. I think you can point back to anything Josh Allen did, and it was because of the lack of pass rush off the edge. Yes, it happened in the fourth quarter. You saw Floyd get that, huge sack. But, I mean, they're getting nothing. They're literally getting nothing out of Sam Sebukam. He is a huge liability. And to me, I feel like, holding a team to 101 yards rushing on 21 carries, I mean, that's below 5 yards per carry. That's not awful. The Rams ran for 5.2 yards per carry, 32 carries on for 167 yards. Singletary was on his way to having a good game. I don't know why they went away from the run. Here's what I'll say. I think they did a nice job of containing Josh Allen. I do. I know he threw 4 touchdowns. I know he had 5 total touchdowns. Josh Allen in the first half looked very good, but Josh Allen in the first half had wide receivers that were wide open. Josh Allen in the second half didn't impress me. Did not impress me. Josh Allen in the second half was rushed, he was hit,
Choking.
He was hurried. And yeah, he started to choke the game away. And, people want to say that Josh Allen is better than Jared Goff. I can't agree with that. I think Jared Goff did more in this game. I think Jared Goff has done more in his career. Jared Goff's won playoff games. Josh Allen, to me, has a long way to go before I'll say that he's, easily better than Jared Goff, like some of the stuff I've seen on my timeline. But, credit to Jared Goff, I'll say, because, we're talking about the defense. Let's, shift gears a little bit to these quarterbacks. Josh Allen wins the first half. Jared Goff, I think, absolutely won the second half. He went up against pressure. I thought he looked really calm in the pocket. Going over 100 yards was Cooper Kupp. He got Robert Woods involved. Josh Reynolds was very key. Weird to see Van Jefferson with 0 catches in this one, but they didn't really need to go to Van Jefferson, although, he had 1 target that went, the interception. But I was really impressed with the way Jared Goff bounced back from the interception. And he only took 2 sacks in this game. One was a free rush right from, I believe it was Matt Milano. So, that's going to happen. But I was really impressed with Jared Goff. The defense, going back to the defense, I do think, in a sense, there were things that they needed to clean up. But in the second half, I mean, they held the Bills to 14 points. The first half, was 21. And obviously, that's rough. But I
Well,
thought the defense in the second half, stood up and probably should have ended up winning that football game if not for a horrible call at the end.
well, yeah, the entire reason that the Rams got back into the game was because of Aaron Donald. I mean, let's be real. I mean,
He turned into a one-man wrecking crew.
It was all Aaron Donald. Our offense didn't even really, like, our offense played fine. I mean, but the spark that our offense needed came from the defense, which is actually, I think, typically how it goes in football. I mean, the saying defense wins championships is a saying for a reason. I mean, our defense totally stepped it up, especially, Aaron Donald took the team literally on his back. And that was a huge momentum shift. And I think another big momentum shift was John Johnson's so-called interception, which again, we don't need to get super into it, but I think all of us Rams fans are in agreement that was a call that probably went our way. I don't understand that call, but I'll take it. And it seemed like after his, little interception or whatever, we really started to turn it on. And sometimes that's all you need, is you kind of need a spark. And then we started to see things kind of flow together. But I will say that in the second half, our defense really started playing well, and I think they got a lot more fluid and they started having a much better rhythm. But the first half Rams defense just gave me really bad flashbacks to last year. Well, the first half Rams offense gave me really bad flashbacks to last year as well. But it was really encouraging to me to see that they were able to collect themselves at halftime and go out into the second half and get it together. So as we kind of wrap talking about the defense, I do think that my sentiment is going into next week, we have to be better with the run. I know that you and I kind of disagree on that. I do think that it is a real problem. I think there was way too many times that Devin Singletary just ripped through our entire defense, which is unacceptable. But they did get it together, and I loved the pressure that they were able to apply to Josh Allen in the second half. They did a really, really good job on that. But let's go to the offense, because the first half, the offense was abysmal. And it really, to me, watching our offense, I just wanted us, I texted you during the game. I said, we need to run it every single play. I just want to not throw it anymore. Because the first half, really the only thing that worked was running the football, and specifically Daryl Henderson. Let's talk about him. I mean, Daryl Henderson just played amazing. And he really, I think, kind of put himself in the position after this game to be, if you want to rank the Rams backs, which I think is a bad idea, because I do think that each of our running backs have a very specific role and are meant to kind of share the workload. Akers is obviously out, but when he's healthy, I do think it's going to be a three-back running back by committee system. I mean, but for now, Daryl Henderson, I think, played so well that he's almost like a featured back. At least he was against the Bills. And I'm really glad I started him for fantasy. But just talking about the run game, Jake, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, looking in the first half, Daryl Henderson was, I think our friend Jordan Rodriguez tweeted the Los Angeles Daryl Hendersons.
Yeah.
That's literally what it was in the first half. Aaron Donald had not exploded yet. Jared Goff threw an interception, but Daryl Henderson was just running the football with ease. And, I think Sean McVay does deserve some blame in that regard, because, Daryl Henderson, I watched a guy that couldn't be stopped. And the only time he got stopped was when they put in Malcolm Brown, who had 2.7 yards per carry. I'm not going to say Malcolm Brown was terrible or anything like that, because I know he went 7 carries for 19 yards and kind of got phased out and didn't have his best game. But to me, Daryl Henderson is the best running back in this stable right now. I don't know if Cam Akers is going to be better than Henderson for quite a while, honestly. Keep in mind, Henderson was a rookie last year. He didn't get an opportunity to play a whole lot, but he sat behind guys like Malcolm Brown and like, Todd Gurley. So I think Daryl Henderson, going back to his days at Memphis, this guy was my number one running back in 2019, coming out of that draft class. It does not surprise me the success he's having. What surprised me is how often they would take him out and put Malcolm Brown in, or how often they would just pass when, they can't stop Daryl Henderson. I do think the score would have been different if they just kept rolling with Henderson, and the Rams might have gotten, maybe a touchdown before the half. But I think the Rams running game is going to give every defense in this league a problem. They've been doing that. They have 3 backs. Actually, they have 5 when you count Xavier Jones and Raymond Calais. But they have 5 running backs that all offer different skill sets, and I think that they're just such a total mismatch. The Bills are no slouch. I told you, and I said it on multiple podcasts, Downtown Bills, Downtown Rams. I said, I think this is the best defense in the league when healthy, and the Rams ran all over them. So it's a good barometer to let you know that, hey, the Rams lost this football game, and we won't get into, why they lost it, but just looking, you have the running game moving forward. You just, that.
Yeah, I think that, I'm very optimistic and grateful for this Rams run game. I think I'm really starting to love kind of the running back by committee format, which is what most NFL teams seem to have shifted to. I totally understand it. I think that some teams and some running backs definitely work better kind of as that featured back. But I think for what the Rams are trying to do, running back by committee is perfect. But, the passing game in this Rams game, to me, it wasn't one of our better games, but I think there were plays when it mattered most that we got the job done. Specifically, I felt like with Kupp and Woods. Obviously, it was nice to see Woods do well back in Buffalo. I'm sure that he wanted to do well going back to Buffalo, obviously. He had a great game. Kupp came up with a couple big plays. But I think definitely in the second half, our offense started to get into that rhythm. Sorry about that. But I think in the second half that the Rams started to get back into their rhythm and really kind of find their pace again, which is, again, why it's so unfortunate that they had to, ultimately lose the game, because I felt like they worked so hard to get that lead back. Because, yes, even though I believe it was kind of the defense that propelled us to win back all those points and to take the lead, obviously it's the offense that ends up putting the points on the board. So, that was disappointing, but I do think that, had the Rams played the way that they played in the first half, the entire game, they obviously would have lost. And that would have really given me kind of a sick feeling going, looking at the rest of the season, just because, that to me looked like the Rams offense from last year, but because of the way they were able to get it together in the second half and really make some good plays, and put points on the board, really actually makes me optimistic, looking forward, for what the Rams have in store the rest of the season. There is a component, though, of that offense that I'm not happy with, and that is the kicking situation. I have to talk about it because it's all over Twitter and Rams fans are really impassioned about that. But I mean, again, our 7th round draft pick, folks, Sam Sloman. I mean, I feel so awful being so hard on this kid because, I want him to do well, but you cannot waste a draft pick on a kicker. You just can't do it because, listen, there's nothing personal against kickers, but there's such a range, I think, for every position in the NFL other than kicker, right? Like there are quarterbacks that you have to draft because someone's going to take them, running backs, defensive ends, whatever. Kickers, I mean, the scale of like really good kicker to really bad kicker is like there's not like a long range. It's either pretty much like you're a consistent kicker or you're not. So to waste a draft pick on a kicker really makes me mad. What also makes me mad is that we then brought in some free agent kickers in training camp who are clearly better than Sloman, but because we had used a draft pick on him, I think the Rams felt obligated to keep him on the team, which also made me mad. And then now we're seeing, I mean, we're how many games in? Three games in a year, and he's still not doing well. I mean, this guy is not the answer. I mean, he's just not it. And I don't know how long the Rams are going to hold on to him. But it's not looking good.
Yeah. What was it I tweeted out? I said, I don't believe in the idea of developmental starting kickers because I don't think that any kicker in the league is worth losing a game for. I mean, you can go back and if he hits that field goal, who knows what kind of game that this is in. That touchdown wouldn't have sealed it if say everything went according to plan and that didn't, change the game at all. It would be 35-35 or 35-34, and they'd probably have to go for 2 to win the game. So I don't know, just something to kind of throw out there.
It's just unfortunate.
I personally can't agree entirely because I thought about this, and I won't say that you can never draft a kicker because Greg Zuerlein was drafted in the 7th round and out of Missouri Western or whatever.
Yeah.
You would know.
Missouri
I don't
Western.
know. Yeah, it was Missouri Western. So he was another level of kicker. You watched him at Missouri Western and you're like, okay, now that guy can kick.
Yeah.
Sam Sloman didn't have what was his percentage? It was below 70, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a good point. So I should clarify that you can draft a kicker, but if you're gonna draft a kicker, it needs to be a guy that's breaking records in college and playing out of his mind.
Has Legatron as his
right. It needs to be a no-brainer if you're gonna draft a kicker or a punter, honestly. Sam Sloman was pretty mediocre in college. I mean, I'm not looking at any, I'm sure that he maybe won some awards or whatever. I hope he did. I hope that there was a reason that he was drafted.
They liked his late game kicking.
Which is ironic because I would never trust Sam Sloman to take a late game kick for the Rams ever. I would run out onto the field and do that before I had faith in Sam Sloman to do it. And I know I'm being really mean to the kid, but here's the thing. This is the NFL. And a lot of people, I think, don't realize that kickers are important. And I think Rams fans certainly realize that now. Like you said, you should never lose a game. Because of a kicker, especially a developmental kicker. The NFL is not the time to develop your skill as a kicker. You should have it.
There's only 16 games. You could argue the Rams lost this game because of a developmental kicker.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look. It's not the type of kicker that you want on your football team, but it's, I don't think the Rams are going to do anything about it. So that's that. Again, it's because they drafted him. I do think that there's always kind of a weird thing with the kicker when you draft him that you feel obligated to keep him on the team, which I don't understand, especially when we have better kickers in camp. But other than that, so just kind of closing thoughts on this game. It's a heartbreaking loss that we're not going to probably be over for a while. The Bills are a very good football team. Okay.
Absolutely.
They are a very good football team. This game was one that I've been talking about, on podcasts when we before the season, when we talked about just looking at the Rams schedule and who they had to play. This was a game that I always felt like was going to be a real battle. What's frustrating is as good as the Bills are and as talented as they are, and they're an obvious playoff team, in my opinion, and as much as I think Josh Allen is a beast, I still think that the Rams deserved to win the game today. And you know what? People can argue about who's the better team, who's more talented, the Rams or the Bills, whatever. But honestly, not even getting into all that, I just felt like the Rams deserved to win because when it mattered the most and in the second half, they really rallied and they played better than the Bills. It just came down to that. I thought the Rams overall played better than the Bills and that they deserved to win the game. And they didn't win the game. And they didn't win the game because it came down to a really bad call. So, you can get into don't put yourself in that position and all the things that the Rams could have done right. But it still hurts either way. But, you got to look at the rest of the season. It's only week 3. The Rams are 2-1. Next week, I think we play the Giants, which is, we'll do a game preview for that. So we don't have to talk about that, but that's a source of optimism right there. Another NFC East team, and the NFC East is just going down in flames.
The Washington football team.
Yeah. So So we have some, we can, but not to get over cocky, because the Rams, any team can lose any game in the NFL. So you can't get cocky, but you can at least acknowledge that we've got some hopefully pretty easily winnable games coming up. But yeah, today sucked. It just sucked, and it is frustrating, and it is what it is. There's not much, we could talk about it for hours, but at the end of the day, it's just like, you just got to go on to week 4. You got to put it behind you. Especially if you're the Rams, you just have to acknowledge that there was some things that the Rams did that put themselves down by a lot. They came back. So also acknowledge that, acknowledge the good stuff, and go into week 4 just ready to kill it.
Hey, I agree with you. It's gonna be one, and I said this during the live stream, and I stand by it. Rams fans aren't gonna let this go. No matter if they break off the next 8 wins, they're gonna be annoyed that one loss came the way it did. If the Bills had scored just by powering into the end zone and not with the help of the officiating, totally fine. But and it still would have been a heartbreaker, but that's the thing. When you have a flavor on it that has, refs all over it, that's never going to, end well. So yeah, when you look at the next bunch of games, there's some optimism, although the Rams might be getting the 49ers when, they're somewhat healthy, in the next 3 weeks. So, I think you look at this team and you have to imagine that you have to put them right up there among the best of the best. This is one of the best teams in football. Both of them are. I take a good look at the offense, and, I felt like their game plan was kind of snuffed out from the beginning in the passing attack, and they still were able to kind of, get around the fact that I think Sean McDermott had a great game plan to shut down Sean McVay's quick screen and short and intermediate game. And the Rams still rallied back, and they battled back, and they should have won the game, and they didn't. And, I think it says a lot. It says, these two teams are both dogs, but at the same time, both these teams struggle. The Rams struggle to play, they didn't put together a full, a full 4-quarter game, and neither did the Bills. So, that's how I would look at it like that. The Bills are escaping, but, I'll also say this. I think the Rams losing this game will probably help them. You learn a lot more in your losses than you do in your wins. The Bills, once again, eked by the Dolphins last week. They probably could have lost to the Dolphins, and they couldn't, shut the door on the Jets, and they won by 10 in a game that they should have won by a lot. So, that's how I take it. I think the Rams are probably going to take their frustrations out on the Giants like a punching bag. I think that's what's going to end up happening, but that's neither here nor there. It sucks to lose, but I think, again, I think the Rams they'll probably benefit from losing a game like this more than they would benefit from winning it. So, not worried. I don't think it hurts their standing at all in the power rankings or anything like that. It won't hurt mine. I think they just proved today that if you were worried about them beating on the really weak NFC East and about them not being good teams, the Bills are a Super Bowl team, and they should have beat them. So that's how I would look at that.
Yeah, the Bills are most certainly a Super Bowl caliber team, and I don't know if they'll get there or not, but I think they certainly could. And we at the end of the day, I know that they were beating us by a lot, but they only ended up beating us by 3 points. So I think that's something that shows kind of where the Rams are at. And I think going into next week, even though it should be an easily winnable game, the Rams should really use next week as an opportunity to kind of correct what they did wrong this week, and to, practice the small stuff, because in the end we lost because of small stuff and all of that. But yeah, so that's, I think, going to do it for us. It was a tough day. It was a tough game, and we are just going to have to, shake it off, get ready for next week, acknowledge that the Rams did a lot of good stuff, this game, a lot of bad stuff, but at the end of the day, we're all still Rams fans, and we just got to keep pushing forward. So you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Craft. You can follow Jake on Twitter at JKBoganDTSN. And as always, please like and subscribe if you like what you hear. We will talk to you guys soon. Go Rams.